Hi everybody, welcome back to Rosemaling with Art of Lise. Here's my hands. It's so nice to see you all. So I did a video a few days ago that was this. I did some Telemark monochromatic blues on paper, and there were a few questions that came about from this video. So I thought I would just do a really short video to talk about a little bit of the materials. I'm not going to talk about paints. I'll save that for another video. But first, the paper that I used to paint on, that was just paper from my copying machine. That's all I used. If you're going to paint on this paper or any other paper, you want to make sure that your paint is nice and loose. Anytime you're painting on just a flat piece of paper like this, it hasn't been prepped, there's nothing to this, it's going to suck in your paint. So you want to make sure that whatever you're using has a good amount of medium or water in it so that it will flow. But I talk about practicing. Practicing is super, super important. So if you want to practice, I would suggest getting a sketchbook. Sketchbooks are perfect, and everybody asks me, well, what kind of sketchbook did you get? I don't know. I just got myself a sketchbook. Not super technical on this, but I basically got this sketchbook and then I practiced. It's actually, I painted in this upside down, which is kind of funny, but I literally practiced. Just lots and lots and lots of practice, and practice is key. But this is wonderful to get a sketchbook. I would, if you get a sketchbook and you're practicing, whether you're doing Rosemaling, which is the Norwegian decorative folk art that I do, or if you're doing something else, date the page when you do it, so that when you look back at it, you can see your improvement as you go. All right, great way to do this. All right, I'll put that aside. I'll talk about sketchbooks at another point. Now, Rosemaling is traditionally an oil art form. So it's a wet on wet technique. I actually transitioned to acrylics about 20 plus years ago. So I'm strictly working in acrylics now, but I have over 25 years of experience with oils. But I'll talk about acrylics here. So I was using something called a wet palette. Okay, so normally with oils stay wet a long time. Wet palettes are your acrylic version of this. You can see I have one that's kind of messy and I have one that's brand new. So this is, and I'll take the brand new one out so you can see it. This is by Masterson. It's a simple wet palette. Here we go. We'll even get the, here you go. Stay wet handy palette. Stay wet palette paper, right? All right, and this is the paper for it. All right, inside of this, and you can see, you're gonna see paint here because I've been working on some projects. All right, underneath this palette is a sponge that comes with it. So we wet this sponge down, and then we put this paper on top of it, but you have to do some treatment on this first. So you actually have to take this paper beforehand. I put it in a microwave safe container, and then I microwave this for 5 minutes, and then I let it sit in that water so that it soaks through. Because acrylics dry really fast, we want the wet paper or the wet palette to help keep our paints fresh. So this is working from underneath. Now I also use a spray bottle as well with water in it. See, okay? And I'll spritz the top as well while I'm working to keep it wet from the top. But now, if you're not in America, or if you don't have a Michaels, or you don't have something accessible to make a wet palette or have a wet palette like this, quite often I make my own wet palette. And I'll just show you how that works. Let's put this aside for a second. All right. Don't you love my nice messy table? One day this could go in an art gallery. Lisa Lawrence's table. Well, look at that. Anybody recognize these things? Yep, those ubiquitous little food containers that you get. But they make a wonderful wet palette. And notice this one's already set up. It's a little bit of a mess. But underneath, I have made my own sponge. Now, what I've used, and I'm going to take this out because this one can actually really be done for now. So we'll just take this out. All right. But can you see what's underneath there? That is actually the blue shop towels that you can get at your hardware store, or you can use Viva or anything like that. Now, the reason I use the shop towels is they don't have lint. I wouldn't use just regular, and I've successfully gotten paint all over myself. All right, I wouldn't use regular paper towels because too much lint. I'm just going to take this guy out, okay? So I'm going to take a fresh piece of blue shop towel here. All right, and I kind of like to double it over just to give a little extra padding with this. Make sure I'm in screen here. We'll kind of pseudo measure this so that it will fit. Okay, and I'm going to cut this. Now, I use my blue shop towels for a lot of things. I actually cut these down into 2 by 2 inch squares, and I keep them handy because they are perfect for cleaning up. And notice I got that in there quite nicely. All right, so we're going to wet that down. Don't mind my dirty water because, of course, did I get clean water before I did this video? No, I didn't. So we'll just use the paint water there that I had. We'll just kind of spread this around. Now, I can use a few different types of paper on top of this. So you can certainly take freezer paper. All right, that is something you can use. You can put wax paper, or even if you get just your normal palette paper, right, that you can get at your art store. Okay, just palette pad paper here. This works great. And I'm just going to cut a piece to size. Just kind of guesstimating here. Okay. Oh, that was pretty good. You'd think I've done this a few times. Okay. And I'll just cut this to shape here. All right. And I'm going to push this down. And notice you can already see some of the water coming through it and soaking this paper down. Okay. So we want this to sit for a little while, but this is your paint palette. Very simple to use. And the nice thing is, most of the time, these containers are very tight. Once you seal them, right, it will hold your paint. Now, typically the paint will last, you know, a couple days. It won't last as much as oil will. All right, but this works great. And for those who are asking, typically the paint that I use Joe Sonia Chroma Artist acrylic paints. These have been my go-to for quite a while, but you certainly can go and get stuff like Folk Art brand and play with that. These are a little loose, so might not work quite as well, but they still work well. So you can play around with this. All right. So hopefully that answers a few questions. I am going to come back with another video that will address prepping boards, because the other thing is prepping stuff. And here's a really simple thing. So you can see this is nice and base coated. You kind of see that I painted something on that. But just so you can see what I use this from, Scooby Snacks. All right. You can use your cereal boxes. All right. You can use your fruit snack boxes or anything like that and literally base coat them. So I'll talk about that in another video, but easy way to do things. It's kind of like Bob the Builder. Reuse, renew, recycle. Anyway, thank you everybody. I hope this answers some questions, and I'll be back with another video soon. Thank you again. Remember, it's just paint. God is good. Thank you everybody. Take care.